right, guys, welcome back to part 3 and probably the episode I've been most looking forward to because now we get to finally get into Norway and the Lofton Islands. Genuinely, the photos from Lofton look like a movie. So eventually you get to Norway, you've done your early morning flight. At this point, were you exhausted or did it all feel worth it?
It was very tiring to get there because, as I mentioned earlier, to go across the ditch, I had to fly from Reykjavik to Oslo from Bodo to Svolvær, and then from there I could drive down the Lofoten Islands. In hindsight, I could have just hired a car from Oslo and just driven down and cut out that last flight because I did experience some flight delays.
Yes.
But that's all part of the learning experience. And if I did manage to go back there in the future, I would probably just drive down from Oslo. So I was very tired, but in saying that, I was very excited because this was the main focus of my trip. And I was just excited just to get there and just experience the islands.
This is the one. Okay, so you arrive in Norway and didn't you mention that the Northern Lights, again, literally appeared while you were driving and you had to pull over?
Yep, I feel like this whole trip was all about slamming the brakes and pulling over every day. But as I was driving from the airport to my hotel, again, the Northern Lights just made a random appearance. And then because you never know when they're going to appear, so it's just about slam the brakes, pull over and take a photo. You just don't know when they're going to return.
Yeah.
So that particular night, which was my first night on the way to Henningsvær, that certain place I was in wasn't really the best place to take photos of the Northern Lights, mainly because the composition wasn't right, because I was in a random spot. There's a lot of city lights and whatever, which you don't really want. But I just thought, you know what? Stuff it. I'm just going to pull over, take some photos, and then just get back in the car and keep driving.
Lovely. And that was probably like a spark of hope seeing that. And I mean, we've mentioned pulling over a lot. Was it easy to just pull over? Were there spots? Did you have to park in the snow sort of thing?
It's funny you mention that because on these drives on the Lofoten Islands, which are beautiful islands, there are very, very, very limited places to pull over.
Wow.
which is weird because you've got all these beautiful, stunning landscapes and you want to pull over, stop and enjoy them and have a look at them. But there's very few spots where we can actually pull over and enjoy the view. So there's a lot of times where I had to slam the brakes and just park in random spots. I parked in bus stops. There's one time where the car got stuck in snow because I just didn't know where to stop, and I just looked out of the window, saw a spot, and I thought, I'm going to take a photo of that.
Yep.
Slammed the brakes, and of course I slammed the brakes at the wrong spot. So I tried to get off the road, and then of course, knowing my luck, it was like knee-deep snow, and then of course the car got stuck. I couldn't move. I was trying to move for about 5 minutes. The car wouldn't budge. So I was like, crap, I'm stuck here. But luckily, I then had a light bulb moment and thought maybe I should just reverse out the way I came, because the way I came in, it's all flat from the wheels. So I basically just reversed the way back out, and then I was able to then move.
Gosh.
But there's not many spots to park.
That would have been a stop to the journey for a little bit.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Did you see any cars that were like bogged or anything?
No, I didn't, but a lot of people were doing the same thing as me, as in parking in random spots, parking illegally, because there's just nowhere to stop to enjoy and really appreciate these beautiful landscapes.
Yeah, well, Norway, you got to improve your infrastructure.
Yeah.
This is the call. So now you've arrived in Lofton, you made the drive to see the Northern Lights. What were your first impressions?
The islands are beautiful. So the first night itself wasn't that great. So the first night I was staying in Henningsvær, which is another fishing village, one of the fishing villages in Lofoten Islands. I mean, the city itself is beautiful, and that's probably where I experienced the most snowscaped landscapes. But this is one of the spots where I saw on Google, looked at it in Google Maps in Street View and whatnot. But then when I got there, it just did not work.
Yeah.
But the aurora that was there was beautiful and was a really good show. So I thought, well, I can't really risk getting in the car and driving somewhere else because they could go away at any moment and I'm going to miss my opportunity. So I just thought I'm going to have to deal with it. I'm going to have to just take some photos. So that particular night, in terms of the specific spot and the composition, wasn't that great. But then the next morning is when I actually got to then drive right down the Lofoten Islands. And that's when I really got to appreciate the beautiful scenery. And that part of the world is just beautiful. It's just a magical experience straight out of a fairy tale. So that's when I really got to appreciate the beauty of the place.
That's stunning.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fishing villages sound really interesting. So tell me more about what it was like seeing the other places, like I think Rain and Hamnøy in person.
Yeah, so those two villages, Rain and Hamnoi, were actually this was actually the reason for the whole trip.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. These two villages, which are actually basically right next to each other, connected by a bridge, are the sole reason I went on this trip. So it was just beautiful just to get there and then experience these beautiful, stunning backdrops. And then I spent 4 nights there, and then this was the climax of my trip. And to experience that was just magical.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Before we go into the experience, of course, the important question: how is the accommodation there? Did you what's it like? Accommodation in a fishing village, and also those little red cabins were really, really cute. So tell me more about it.
Yeah, so it's hard and tricky to find accommodation there, or any decent accommodation there, because it's winter. A lot of things are just shut
Right.
in the off season in winter. What I wanted to do was the red cabins that I stayed in. It's called a Råbua cabin, and that's actually like a traditional Norwegian experience. So I really wanted to experience that, so I did stay in that when I was in Hamnoi. And then the first night in Henningsvær, I stayed in a hotel which was called Bruges Hotel. That was a beautiful hotel, probably the best hotel I've ever stayed in my life. Like literally, that I'm making a statement right now. And amazing.
Heard it here today.
Yeah, so, and I actually spoke to the staff there, and they said it's actually been renovated recently, so maybe that's why it's really nice, but it's just a beautiful hotel.
Yeah.
So I stayed in that hotel, and then the Red Råbua cabins in Hamnoi, and then I also stayed in a hotel in Svolvær as well. So accommodation was a bit tricky trying to find, especially if you're going remote. If you're going to Rain and Hamnoi, it's tricky trying to find accommodation, but I do highly recommend staying in those red cabins, because that's like a traditional Norwegian experience.
Immersing yourself.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a lot of the places were closed. Like, how did you get food,
So food, I had to eat at restaurants, and half of the restaurants were closed, half were open.
Okay.
So it was good that some were open, so I got to have meals there, which was beautiful meals. Obviously a lot of seafood. I think I got a seafood soup every single, like a chowder, every single meal, which
you have to like seafood.
Yeah, you've got to like seafood when you're going over there. And they were really amazing and tasty meals. The cod is very popular there, because the fishing villages there is all based on cod. I didn't really particularly like the taste of cod, but each to their own.
Yeah.
But in terms of other shops, like for example, a supermarket, I think there's like one supermarket in the whole chain of islands.
Wow.
So if you need something, you really got to go to that one supermarket. So you really got to, when you're going in the off season, like in winter, you have to find all those necessities and know where you're going if you need something.
Did you plan that out beforehand?
I did, and I actually miscounted on how many undies and clothes that I had to take. So I had to do laundry when I was there, and I was on a mission trying to do laundry as well there. So so I do advise to just stock up, before you go.
Things you don't think of.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so on that topic, I want to talk a little bit more about the chaos, because obviously not everything went smoothly. And the drone story stresses me out the most. So you nearly lost it behind a mountain, right?
Yeah, so there's a mountain near Flagstad Bridge. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to get some really, because I had done all the cinematic type shots, and then I wanted to try something different and get some FPV type movements and go around the peaks of the mountains. And then silly me decides to fly around the far side, like behind the mountain from where I was standing. And when you're going behind the mountain, radio transmission is going to cut off, and I completely forgot about that. So then I had to figure it out, but then I looked at the controller, and then it said radio transmission lost, and I was like, crap, is this thing going to crash up on that mountain, which means I've lost the drone and lost all that footage, or what's going to happen? Luckily, it automatically went into the fail-safe mode and just returned to home. So then luckily I looked up and I could see it flying back around and come back to me. And that's the good thing about the technology and the drones these days, where if it does lose signal, the first thing it'll do is it'll try to just come back to you. And luckily it did.
That is such a relief. For that shot, how did you end up getting it then? You didn't go around the other side of the mountain? Or?
So I did get the shots that I wanted, but I didn't get all the shots that I wanted, because then the signal got lost. And then I just didn't want to risk it any further. So once it came back, I was like, okay, I got the hint. Enough's enough. Let's just go home.
Call it a day. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, so you alluded to this earlier on, but this is the moment. Eventually, the solar storm prediction paid off, and you booked a last-minute tour, right?
Yeah, so luckily, it was such a good thing that I overheard this conversation, because I knew that the next couple of nights are going to be the nights and the best chance to take Northern Lights photos. So when I was in Norway, I was taking some Northern Lights shots, but I was looking at the photos and I was just thinking, I'm not nailing it. I'm not just getting the shots that I actually wanted, that I came all the way here for. How can I give myself a better opportunity to take better shots?
Yeah.
So then I thought, you know what? What I did last time in Norway was I booked a tour with a photography group that take you out to the best spots in the middle of nowhere, and then that's the best spot to take a photo.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, most of this trip has been me driving out in the middle of nowhere doing my own thing. I think I need to do this one thing where I just need to book a tour and just let someone else take me out somewhere for a change.
Yeah, yeah.
So I then quickly went online. Mind you, this was at 4 p.m. And as I mentioned earlier, it's about to get dark. So it's about 3 or 4 p.m. and I thought, let's look for a tour, an activity. So I quickly looked online. I found a photography tour for that night, which was leaving at 8 p.m.
Wow.
in Svolvær, which was a 2.5-hour drive away, and it's 4 p.m.
Okay.
So I thought, and there's one spot left, it said online.
Wow. Fate.
So it was only about $200 or something, give or take, from memory. So I thought, they're going to take me to a good spot. This is going to be the best opportunity for me to get shots, and the forecast is clear skies tonight. So I just booked that tour, and it's the best decision I made, because I then had to obviously go freshen up, get back in the car, drive 2.5 hours to Svolvær to get to that tour, try and have a quick dinner, which didn't happen because on my drive, again, the Northern Lights came out, so I pulled over to take photos. So dinner got cancelled.
Yeah.
But
no dinner.
no dinner. So I did not eat dinner that night.
Wow.
But I got to go on that tour, and I got to go to some random spot in the middle of nowhere, which was the best spot to go to, because it was the best solar storm on this whole trip. The tour guide said that this solar storm, or these Northern Lights, were the best he's seen, like his top 3 ever.
That's amazing.
For a tour guide in Norway to say this is in his top 3 ever, that's a big statement.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to be there for that moment. So I was so thrilled and so happy and ecstatic that I randomly booked this last minute tour.
Yep.
The other advantage was that they take photos of you on this trip.
Yeah.
So I then got the added bonus of someone taking a photo of me with the Northern Lights behind me.
Wow.
And then taking behind the scenes photos of me taking these photos as well. So it was such a good experience to take, to book this tour random last minute, and it paid off. And then by the time the tour finished at midnight, I was 2.5 hours from my accommodation. I ended up just booking another hotel, even though I had a hotel there, just so I can relax and then head back in the morning, which also worked out, because then in the morning I got to do a kayak tour, which was also a last minute decision in that morning, do another last minute activity, and then it also allowed me to do some shopping and check out Svolvær as well, which I wasn't actually planning to do, and then drive the 2.5 hours back.
It all works out, hey?
Yeah.
No, that's a perfect moment.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay, so you booked the hotel overnight. So you got to like process everything. Can you describe what it was like seeing the Northern Lights overhead, and like one of that photographer's top 3 Northern Lights? Like that would have been stunning. And does it literally look like the photos? Like, yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually buzzing that night. Did not sleep a wink, because I was just buzzing all night from the display that I saw. It's the best I've seen. Obviously, I've only seen the Northern Lights twice. But for the tour guide to say it's in his top 3 ever, it was a big statement, and I'm so lucky to have been there, because as everybody knows, seeing the Northern Lights is luck is a big part of that. Because I have friends who have gone all that way and it was just overcast and they saw nothing. Yeah. So I'm so blessed to have gotten that opportunity to see them. So to answer your question about does it actually look like the photos, the short answer is yes. Wow. So the way I edit my photos is actually very, very minimal editing. The photos that I'm posting here are actually only have very minimal editing, very minimal touch-ups added to it. Wow. So I've only enhanced these slightly. So basically what you see in these photos is what I saw. So I was so lucky to have just look up and you just see with your naked eye these aurora, because 70-80% of the time when you see the Northern Lights, you actually don't see them with your naked eye. You actually see it through the camera.
Right.
You actually look up and you see, oh, is that it or not? Or I see something, but I'm not quite sure. And it's not till you actually take a properly exposed photo, edit it, and like, yep, it was the Northern Lights. But I actually got to see with the naked eye, and it was so strong that I was just so lucky and so blessed.
That's so special. And that will be something you'll treasure forever, hey?
Yeah, it's just one of those lifetime experiences.
Wow. Would you say, so those were like the strongest Northern Lights. Would you say they lived up to everything you imagined?
They lived up to everything and so much more.
Oh, that's lovely.
I knew that this was the tail end of that 11-year solar cycle. So I knew that I was giving myself the best opportunity.
Yeah.
And then I got lucky with the weather. But even then, you still don't know. You could get nothing, or you could get a very light display.
Yeah.
But I was so lucky where for 2 or maybe 3 nights, the intensity of the storms was so strong that it was actually all over the news. And you could actually see it in southern Sydney while I was over there.
Wow.
And I was actually looking online that people in Sydney and Wollongong and the south coast of New South Wales could actually see the southern lights.
Wow.
That's how strong those solar storms were, is that you could see them as far up as Sydney, and I think you could even see them in Queensland. And then in the northern hemisphere, people could actually see them in like England and half of Europe. Like, these storms were intense. They were on another level. It was just insane. And I'm so lucky that I was there at that time.
That's amazing. Sounds like the perfect trip.
Yeah.
Wow. It sounds like this is the moment, but I just want to clarify. Was there a moment that hit you where it was like, this is what I came for?
It would have to be that night on that random last minute tour, on that photography trip to see the Northern Lights, because the stars aligned, everything aligned. It was the right time of year, the right time of the solar cycle. There was not a cloud in the sky, and then the intensity of those storms, and then to be in the right place at the right time. So this tour took me into the middle of nowhere, so away from all the light pollution, and I got to see the Northern Lights. And then when I just looked up, and this particular light display just lasted for about maybe 2 hours.
Wow.
So I think that was the night where I thought, this is why I'm here.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, so finishing it off, you mentioned you completed a hike and you described parts of it as semi-dangerous.
Yeah.
What made it difficult and dangerous?
So during the planning, I was actually umming and ahhing about this hike, and I wasn't sure. I actually wanted to do the hike to Rhinebringen, which is another Instagrammable famous hike overlooking Rain at Hamnoy. But during the winter, it's actually deemed too dangerous, so I didn't want to risk it. So then I started looking at other hikes to do. So the hike I did was actually called Ryton. And this was actually deemed a more safe hike. And all the research and planning that I did said that this is a safe hike to do. So I get there. I had done all the planning. I'd actually printed photos from Google Maps. I had actually found a online hike trail map that I printed. I actually bought myself a PLB, a personal locator beacon, where I can press an SOS button and a helicopter will come save me if I get stranded. I didn't take any chances.
Safety precautions. We like that.
Safety first. So I did all the planning, and then I get there. And so obviously I did the hike. So luckily I included it in my itinerary. I get there, and then I thought, okay, usually when you do these hikes, you're alone in winter because no one does these hikes in winter. Well, very few do.
Mm.
Knowing my luck, I get there. There's another Australian there, and he's from Melbourne. So luck would have it that there was another fellow Australian there doing the hike at the same time. So he looks at me and he goes, "You doing this hike, mate?" And I was like, "Yeah, I sure am." And it was obviously clear that we're both Australian. So we actually got to do the hike together, and it was actually just fate, because even though I had all the planning, I had the printouts, I was planning on turning on my data to get GPS to make sure I get to where I was. But I actually don't think I would have made it to the summit without this guy. Because first of all, he was actually a hiker. So I had micro spikes on my boots, which are like spikes that are about maybe a centimeter long. His spikes were like 4 or 5 centimeters. So he was like hardcore.
Yeah.
And he had all the gear. He had his backpack with like axes and ropes and everything. So he was actually doing this as a practice run for a hardcore hike the next day.
Wow.
And I was like, there's no way I would do 2 hikes in 2 days. Like,
you'd be so sore.
yeah, your knees are gone. So by semi-dangerous, there were parts of this hike where, and I don't even know if we went the wrong way. We probably went the wrong way, which is why it was semi-dangerous, to be honest. But there was parts where we actually had to crab crawl along a ridge, an icy ridge. That was on a 45-degree incline.
Did you have a harness?
No harness.
Oh, okay.
I had nothing, mind you. So if I didn't meet this guy, I'd be crab crawling with nothing, with micro spikes. And
I think he took you on the hard path.
And he probably did, and I probably wouldn't be here to tell the tale. Because he had an ice axe. He had two. So he goes, mate, I think you're going to need one. So he gave me one. So one for him, one for me. And so when we're crab crawling, what we're doing is we're crab crawling, digging in the axe, and then crab crawl, digging the axe, crab crawl. So, and it's a 45-degree incline. One wrong move, and you're sliding down the mountain, and you're not going to make it. Like it's all rocks. It's all rocks. Like you're going to crack your head. So like obviously I had no helmet, nothing. So there's no protection. So whether we went the right way or not, without him I wouldn't have made it. And there's other areas where the way you're just climbing over rocks is very slippery.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought it was, even though I'm not an experienced hiker or experienced mountaineerer, if that's a word, mountaineerer. But to me, it was semi-dangerous.
Yeah.
I just really wish I had my drone up filming this to show you guys the scale of how dangerous this actually is.
Yeah.
But it was too windy to send the drone up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it was
so you had all your photography equipment on your back.
I was still lugging 12 Ks on my back of gear.
Gosh.
But I didn't even get to use the drone because it was just too windy.
Yeah.
Nearly there, guys. I think I'm about 3/4 of the way up. Sun's just rising, so I'll show you the view. Just a bit further to go. See you guys at the top. We finally made it to the summit. Okay guys, I made it to the summit. Mr. Melbourne decided to tie up a rope and actually dangle off a rock, and he took a hit and get me to take a photo of him, and I was like, I hope I'm not taking your last photo, because he's literally doing those things where he's dangling off suspended in midair.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a really great experience. Beautiful views from there. So I'm so glad that I added that hike into my itinerary and got to experience it. It was tiring, obviously, but beautiful experience, beautiful views.
Amazing. That is terrifying. So you mentioned if you had the drone, you'd want to have taken shots. Did you get any shots while you were there?
So when I got a bit further up, there was a very short window of maybe 5 minutes where the wind calmed down a little bit. So I did take a couple of very quick shots from up there. But it would have been nice to take photos of the drone of our hike during those dangerous crab crawl type parts.
Couldn't pull out the camera when you're
yeah. But luckily I didn't need to use the beacon or nothing like that. But that also tracks your hike. So it's also a way for my daughter to track my hike in real time. So she got to see my hike and follow me on the map.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Yes, that was my question. I think we haven't really talked about it as much, but obviously going to these locations, you're taking your photography gear everywhere, and even in the pitch black. Was that ever daunting or nerve-wracking, having that much equipment?
Not really, because I have taken my equipment basically on a lot of other trips that I've done before, so it wasn't anything new to me.
Yeah.
I've obviously got insurance, so when you're taking expensive gear, you've always obviously got to have insurance and take out travel insurance for your gear when traveling.
Yeah.
Because I have actually damaged equipment on trips in the past.
Yeah.
You've always got to have insurance for your gear. But in this particular trip, I wasn't daunted at all. Obviously, I broke the ND filter, but that was nothing major. So I was just really, my mindset was just go, get to this place, take your shot and leave.
Lovely. Yeah, I think that's good to talk about insurance and that sort of side of it. And I think it's important.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so somehow after all of this, the chaos still wasn't over. So you mentioned you upgraded to business class and then you missed your connection to Dubai and ended up stuck there overnight.
Yeah, so I thought I'd treat myself to a business class trip on the way back after that.
After everything, you survived.
Yeah. But on that trip, it got delayed by a couple of hours, so I missed my connecting flight in Dubai, which meant I had to spend the night in Dubai and then catch the next flight the next morning back home. So I added an extra night, but it is what it is. That was the trip.
Did you get any photos in Dubai?
No, I didn't.
No.
No, because from the air, it was like at 10 p.m. or something in
Yeah.
Dubai. So we went straight to they obviously put us up in a hotel. So we went straight to the hotel. I got maybe 2-3 hours of sleep and then straight back to the hotel in the morning.
Wow. Have you been to Dubai?
I've never been to Dubai, so I could technically say that I've been now, but didn't really get to experience the city.
Didn't leave the airport too far. Amazing. Okay, so to wrap it up, after everything, all the ups, the downs, the chaos, would you actually do it again?
100%. I really want to go back. And even though I've been to Norway in 2014 and I thought I'm a better photographer now, I've got better gear, I need to go back and take better photos. Now looking back at the photos, whilst they're stunning photos, I still look at them and think I still could have done this and that better. So I do want to go back and do it even better. So if everything aligns and the stars align again, I'll aim to go back for the next peak, which is 2036, 37, around about that time, and try my luck again.
Stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for the next trip.
Would you go back for another trip, or have you booked your next adventure?
I haven't booked my next adventure. I do want to go back to New Zealand. I've been there a few times, but I do want to go back to New Zealand. And I've always said New Zealand is like a mini Norway. So I'm looking forward to going back there maybe in the next year or two.
Stunning. So I think you've mentioned a few tidbits, but to summarize it all, what advice would you give someone planning something similar?
So the best piece of advice I would give them is, first of all, figure out, are you going just for the scenery or are you going for the Northern Lights? If it's about trying to see the aurora, try to aim your trip for those solar cycles. As I mentioned, you could get lucky either way. Like you could go in the solar maximum and not see them, or you could go in the down period and see them. So you just never know. It's all luck.
Yeah.
But to give yourself the best opportunity, aim for those solar highs. So the next one is 2036, 37. But if you can't wait that long, book a trip sooner.
Yeah.
You definitely have to go in the winter. And to give yourself the best opportunity, it's got to be dark. So it's got to be during the winter time. You definitely I do highly recommend to book a car, hire a car, and then just drive around. And just, even if you do get lost, experience the beautiful scenery that these sorts of places offer you. So that would be my the best advice that I would give you.
And I think we've talked a lot about photography, equipment and safety. So for another photographer and from that technical lens, any advice?
I would try to keep it simple. So my first trip, I probably took too much gear that I didn't even really need. And so it was obviously heavy. So this trip, I only packed what I really, really needed to take. And I probably could do an even better job next time. So I obviously took my drone. In terms of the camera, I took two camera bodies. And I only took 2 lenses because you've always got to be, if one breaks, you've got to have a backup. and if you're taking scenery like this, you need to have a wide angle lens. You can get really wide, but my widest is the 16 to 35 mil lens. So 16 mil being the widest that I have. So you want to take a wide angle lens and maybe one other lens that's maybe not as wide, just as a backup. And then obviously take a lot of memory cards, take a lot of batteries. And I used to take laptops with me to back up all my photos on my laptop. And it also gives me an opportunity to start editing while I'm overseas. On this trip, I decided to keep it simple and keep the weight down. And I didn't pack a laptop this time. So I actually purchased a little field backup device where I just stick in the memory card and it backs everything up to a little SSD hard drive sitting in the little device.
Awesome.
And then when I get home, I'll just dump that onto my camera.
Yeah.
So that's what I decided to do on this trip, just to keep things a bit simple.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really, hopefully the photography audience finds that interesting.
Yeah.
And finally, and most important, for anyone wondering, your landscape prints and photos are available online, right?
That's correct. So I do have an online art store. So all the landscape photos that I take, obviously you'd select a shortlist and I post them online for sale. And they can be prints, glass, aluminium, wood, a lot of different materials and textures. So check out my art store and that would look beautiful in like a studio, a house, an office setting. So there's a lot of different categories there. And I do recommend everyone to have a look at my landscape photos and maybe purchase some.
Absolutely. Imagine that. Imagine seeing the Northern Lights, one of the photographer's top 3 strongest Northern Lights, and having that on your wall. Can't beat that.
Yeah.
All right. Amazing. Honestly, thank you so much for coming on, sharing all the behind the scenes and technical knowledge. Because, I just feel like it's so important. People see those final photos and obviously with AI now, but knowing the story and everything that you went through to get those shots, it's really beautiful to learn. So thank you for coming on and sharing that.
You're welcome.
Make sure you guys go and check out Bish's photography and landscape prints, because honestly, the photos on Instagram do not do it justice, and you need something like that on your wall. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. We hope this episode inspired you to chase an adventure of your own soon.
Thanks, Jade.